Hi, and welcome to the Hidden Pages podcast. My name is Vanessa, and I'm your host. But this episode is our first interview episode, and we're going to be interviewing Amber Henry, who's an entrepreneur and content creator and has no shame in sharing her therapy journey online. This episode, though, is about how to prioritize yourself and when it's time to go in a relationship. Stay tuned to the end of the episode, though, because she gives you a challenge that you can start implementing this week to start changing your ways.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So, Amber, just give me a little introduction about yourself. What do you do and everything? And what actually got you started with sharing your therapy journey or like your therapy lessons? And then we can get into the relationship stuff.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Amber. I'm 29 years old. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada right now.
Ooh.
And I'm an entrepreneur. So I think a lot of people see my presence online and associate it with like an influencer, like that kind of vibe content creator, which I love. And that is definitely a huge part of my job. But I'm a business starter. I love starting businesses. So my main thing is I work with creators to grow and share and monetize their social medias. So that's what I love. But on the personal side, when my daughter was born, I think she was under a year old, I was on maternity leave and I was really bored. I wanted to basically, I started off with trends on TikTok, like just using those sounds and everything. And I wanted to create a space for women to just feel a little bit more comfortable, to feel like they weren't alone in their journey. I'm a single mom. And so going through a breakup with someone who you have a child with can be really heavy. And we were never married, but it's a huge rupture and it's a separation and all of those things. And so I just wanted to create a space where women felt less alone in that. And so that's kind of how I started sharing my therapy journey online.
Which is awesome, by the way, because I feel like sometimes, especially when it comes to like hard topics, when we share, other people feel less alone, which is
100%.
why I honestly started the podcast. Was I went through a lot of my own therapy stuff, and when I started sharing with friends, people are like, oh my God, thank you for sharing that. I've been off of social media for a while, so when I saw yours and I went back and I was like, oh my God, this is what I needed before I went to my therapy journey. Just hearing someone else said, oh, this is hard, or like this is the lesson I got in therapy. Because as much as therapy I think is becoming more popular, it's not really about the therapy. It's about you getting to know yourself, like making sure you know that you're not alone. Because my therapist has told me so many times, I hear this all the time. And that word, like that phrase, makes me feel like, oh my God, like I'm not alone in this. I'm sure she hears it a million times. And I'm thinking like, I'm over here dropping the ball on everything. And it's just like, I hear this all the time.
Yeah, it's true. I think that talking to therapists, you're like, okay, so like other people have issues too, and it's not just me. But I think that social media for a long time has felt like a space where everybody put up this like perfect facade of there's nothing going on, everything's picture perfect. And I have done that in the past where I'm like, life is falling apart behind the scenes, but I'm gonna post a pretty picture. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. I was like, actually, that's exhausting. And I don't want to hold up that standard of thinking that everything has to be perfect to be okay.
Correct. Well, I'm so glad you shared, because as soon as I saw you were like, good, I go to therapy so you don't have to. I like cracked up. I was like, that's exactly what a lot of people need, especially in this economy. Sometimes we just need someone to give you a free lesson from therapy.
100%. And that's the thing too. Like, it's not accessible to everyone. Like, it's really hard out there financially right now. Like, the economy is crazy. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to accomplish too. It's, listen, I'm spending all of this money. So basically my whole philosophy is I want to help the person who I once was, even if that's who I was last week, you know what I mean? And share those lessons so that women can get to the point quicker than it's taken me.
And I think also seeing you be successful and things like that and still share that you're struggling with something, or like that you just worked through something that they might relate to, is very admirable, just because not a lot of people want to share their faults. It's not fun all the time.
No, it's true. It's very true. It's very true. But I think there is a level of like power to that where it's just you're taking it back and you're reclaiming it. And I think that understanding and being like, hey, everyone has problems. Everyone's going through something. Like people's lives, you pass someone on the street, their life is just as complex as yours. And so I think the difference is I just speak mine out loud, you know?
Yeah. And we just need a little more of that is really what it gets down to, because the problems that you have might relate with other people, and the problems that person has, if they feel like you inspire them and they share that, might help other people. And that's kind of like
100%.
a trickling effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ripple effect. Yeah. You're right.
Yes. So I guess where we would start would be when it comes to unhealthy relationships, what was like the first signs that you saw that you were like, or red flags that you caught that kind of told you, okay, I need to prioritize myself?
I think like when I was younger, I ignored red flags. So I don't think that I even was like, ooh, that's a red flag, I'm going to run away. I let things go on for a long time, and that was a big issue. And so I think like little things like gaslighting would have been a red flag that I'm just like, I'm going to ignore that. But I think that it's because I was lying to myself, right? I was keeping up this facade of everything's fine, everything's perfect, it's okay. And I tend to lead a little bit more avoidant in relationships. And so I'm a control freak. And so if something's not going right and I'm in a relationship and this is my boyfriend and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to put a blinder on and that's not happening so that my world doesn't fall apart and I don't have control over that. So I think that one of the biggest mistakes I've made in the past was lying to myself, gaslighting myself, and ignoring my intuition when I knew something was wrong. Because truth be told, in any relationship that I've had, within the first 3 months, I always know. I always know that this person in the past was not for me. And I was just like, I gave myself excuses. Oh, you're young. It's fine. It is what it is right now. You have time. Not understanding, because my frontal lobe was not developed, that
Well, they were
that
telling
takes
us
its toll.
first that at 21 it was developed. Now they're saying 25.
Yeah, 25, 100%. And I felt something click in at 25 where I was like, oh, and that's when all of the BS faded away. And I got pregnant with my daughter at 25, but I had met her father when I was younger. It's a very big decision. And I think that, yeah, so I ignored red flags and I lied to myself. And I think that going back and looking back retrospectively is pretty, like hindsight's 2020. But I definitely lied to myself. And if I just trusted my intuition and was a little bit more confident in myself and my decisions that everything was going to be okay, those relationships wouldn't have even made it past the 90-day mark.
Which is a great marker. I think that you're so right. There's a gut feeling within the first 90 days where you're just like, yes or no.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I think that's a good tip for people. Just don't waste more time. You probably know around that time that yes or no.
Yeah. And there is like a caveat to that where I'm like, well, I think that when you're dealing with a different type of person, like if we're talking abuse or certain situations like that, manipulation is very real. So it's not as easy to catch those things. But at the end of the day, I think that time is your friend. And if somebody can't stay consistent for a period of time, whatever consistency looks like for you, that's a big red flag that I would, at this point in my life, walk away from.
How do you think childhood affected the way you viewed relationships or ignoring the red flags?
Well, my parents were not together, so I don't ever remember them together. They had me very young. My mom was 19. So I think probably not having my dad around impacted things in that way. And then my mom, when I went to university, she moved away. And so it's kind of like that structure, like my safety net was my mom. And not having that, I think I started to search for family and connection in my romantic partners. And I've always been a very loyal, I could date one person and I'm like, if we're making this commitment, you could be my husband. That is, I'm a relationship girl.
You're dating to marry.
To be married, yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that I took that level of commitment with those people very seriously, and they were just the wrong partners. I was searching for this like very serious, very family oriented connection in people that just were not worthy of my time. And so I think that, and I'm an only child also. So I have my mom my dad was like not super present, and that really impacted. It's like the daddy issues thing, you know?
Oh,
I'm like
trust me.
still working through it. When me and my dad have a good relationship now, but I do think that took a lot of processing for me, and acceptance. Like, you can never get your childhood back. That's never going to look different. And just accepting that that's okay. And seeing your parents as humans.
Yes.
And
That
understanding.
one's taken me a little second, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that when you're going to, and having my daughter really did shift that for me too, being like, okay, well, he can have an opportunity to show up as a grandpa now, and that can look different. And that is like, it is super nice to see him with her. And
it is a little healing. You're right.
It is, yeah. And to be like, okay, well, thank you for doing this. You know, you could F off right now, but you're not. And you're like here and so wonderful. And she loves him. And I love that. And so I think it's just giving your parents grace. My parents were really young when they had me. My mom is a rock star, right? Like she is everything. I tell her, and I'm like, this is probably so annoying, but I'm like, you're a superwoman. Like, how did you do it? But yeah.
Especially with your kids. I know I have a 2-year-old and she's like a mini me. So like having the child parts in me get what I was missing from my parents. And this is like going to make me a little emotional, but what I was missing from my parents, and even though I didn't get it, just seeing her get it is super healing.
Yeah.
And my mom had big periods of depression. So she currently has, going through therapy and all that. She hasn't had any of that anymore. So my daughter gets a really happy version of her.
Oh, that's
which
beautiful.
A lot of my child parts need it. And so it's really great. And she loves her. And that's just, I completely understand that.
Yeah. And I think as a parent, like when we're making mistakes with our kids, it's, okay, mistakes.
That's probably what our parents did.
Yeah. And so it's easier to relate to them, I think, on that level, and just being like, damn, you're human. And we're all just trying to work through this. So a good person's a good person. We all have our stuff. If we can be graceful in how we handle those people, that's like the most important thing, I think.
That, and looking back on your own trauma, you're like, oh, I wonder what theirs look like, right?
Yeah.
Their history, their parents, their, all of that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, wow, I didn't have this, but I wonder what they didn't have. And that brings you back a lot.
100%. And there's a really great book called What Happened to You by Oprah Winfrey and I think it's Dr. Perry. And it really helps to just with your parents or in relationships, people in your life, to look at what did happen to you and why are you acting like that right now, to just reframe your thinking about relationships and why, especially in conflict, why things are happening the way that they are. And so I think that for anybody listening, that's a really great read to pick up, to just have a different mindset shift around how you're handling people in your life.
Yeah. Especially those closest to you. I think sometimes they're the ones that can hurt you the most or bring you up the most. So
100%, 100%.
Next question. When prioritizing yourself, right, is there a ritual, or I guess a way that you pick yourself up when starting to prioritize, or you're feeling depleted, let's say, and what is your get back to yourself or self-care that you do?
I think I have I'm a very routine person. So I really love working out. To me is like how you complete the stress cycle. Another really great book is called Burnout. And it talks about how like animalistically, like we need to complete our stress cycle. Like back in like hunter-gatherer times, people would basically, it's if a lion were coming to your camp, that's a stressor, right? And so what would happen is, though, the men in the village would kill the lion, you like feast on the lion, you celebrate. There's like this whole ritual around it so that the village is okay, it's no longer a threat and you can calm down. What happens now, though, when we're living in a modern society is we have all of these little stressors. It's not a lion, but our body doesn't know that, right? Our body is still in that
stress or not stress.
Yes, it's stress or not stress. And so, but what we're missing in society a lot of the times, especially with women, with all of the stress, the mental load, all the things that we're dealing with, we're not completing our stress cycle. There's no ritual. And so working out is a big one to complete that stress cycle. You're like hiking yourself up, releasing, and then, all of those things. I love meditating and getting back into that
Mhm.
again. I think that it's funny. I'm like, what am I gaining from meditating? And then I'm like, or I have road rage. And I'm like, okay, when I'm not meditating, I'm like high anxious. And when I am
Mm.
meditating, I'm a little bit more chill,
That's
which
been a hard one for me because so I deal with really bad ADHD a lot of times. And so,
oh,
well, not a lot of times, it's all the time. But what you said, routines have really helped my stressors and like
yeah.
keeping, the people make it sound like it's just losing your keys. I
Yeah.
mean, I found my phone in the fridge. There's
Oh,
just like all this craziness, right? So routine, having a spot for all my stuff,
yeah.
all of these things come together to help me create a system around just a neurodivergent thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of that stress definitely comes from myself sometimes. Just being able, like you said, to finish the circuit has been really good for me now. I had a really bad postpartum. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I did not recognize myself.
Yeah.
And
You're like you said, your daughter is your a daughter.
yes, daughter.
Yeah. So she's 2. And I'm like, that's still like kind of fresh. Like I remember
Yes.
18 months 2 was hard.
Yes. And like for us, I've moved from Louisiana to Houston.
Oh,
I was 7 months pregnant. So we had no family for the first 2 years
that's so
around us.
hard.
Yeah. And then he traveled for work. And then we just moved to Dallas.
Oh,
But we finally have family here, which has been like an upgrade because now we can have date nights without paying for help and things like
yeah.
that. And so
Yeah.
it's been really hard. And I completely think that there is a lot of pressures
Hmm.
for women and in general as a mom, and
Yeah.
not just as a mom but just as women. And I think that it's something that has to be taught more.
Yeah.
What does your physical body need
Yeah.
to deal with mental stressors? Because people will be like, oh, just relax or just take time to yourself. That doesn't always work.
No, and I'm like, I think it's so important to talk about what that looks like because I think that too, like when people think self care, there's so much like a spa day or this or that. And I'm like, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's built in this, I love calling them like mini moments, like being
Mm-hmm.
able to do my like nighttime routine when my daughter's asleep is the best thing ever because I'm like, I just need 5 minutes to wash my face and do that. And that's to me self care, where it's like, I'm not working and I'm not on mom duty right now. I think it is hard to sometimes find those times. It's either working or momming.
Yeah.
And so figuring out those just tiny little moments, my cup of coffee. Don't catch me without that. I love
I
I
can't
love
drink coffee. I can't share it because
Oh
I will
no.
have a heart attack.
Oh
But
really?
the washing of the face, I completely
Hmm.
relate. It's just I don't have a fancy routine either. It's just like
Yeah.
feeling like I washed the day off of my face
Yes.
is all like I need sometimes.
100%. And I think that a lot of the times we make it more complicated. I think the things that are good for our kids are also good for us, like getting outside, getting
Mm,
off screens. Like when you really innately like tune in and think, okay, what does my kid need right now if they're freaking out? It's like you probably need the same thing.
and the
You
bonus
need
is you get both of you regulated.
100%. I'm like, let's go outside and touch some grass, kid. Let's turn off Disney Plus.
What's her like what go to watch right now?
Oh, she's obsessed with Frozen and Moana. It's like a toss
Okay.
up between the two. And she's been loving Finding Dory.
At least those are happier, I guess.
Oh yeah, totally. And
Because
I
like
love
my
it because I'll
daughter's
watch them.
totally into Wally, and
Oh,
she's always, oh, Wally. I'm like, baby, are you sure you want to watch this? She's, oh, Mama, Wally. I'm like,
no.
yes, baby, but are you sure? She's no, don't change Wally.
That's so cute though. They really have their like hyperfixation stuff and they just stick with it.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
brought her back the old Blue's Clues, like the
Oh,
season one Blue's Clues. Yes. I
cute.
love
That's so
bringing
fun.
back cartoons that like we had. And
Same.
so, well, my little brother's the one who watched at that age. So, but it was something that was played at home. So it's like nostalgic for me and she
Yeah.
loves it. And I
Yeah.
think that some of this stuff online now for kids, you got to watch out what they're watching now.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like too overstimulating. That's why I like the Disney movies and then I don't know, I screen time to me I'm like I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings about it. Sometimes I'm like, it's great. The iPad I usually use just for traveling, or if something like I really need her to.
I just need a second.
Yeah, at home. But other than that, I'm like, I don't know. I think there's pros and cons. I'm like, do what you have to do. It is what it is.
Whatever you need at the time. Sorry, I got off topic there a little bit.
No, it's okay. I love it.
So rebuilding confidence. I guess when you left the relationship, or any of the relationships that you want to discuss, but like when you left, what was, I guess, the steps that you took to rebuild the confidence? I can relate that there's been a sense of failure sometimes.
Oh, totally.
When a relationship ends, right?
Yes.
I can't imagine even with like when you share a child and you come from a broken home, like it can be even harder. I relate in the sense of my dad was also kind of out of the picture work wise. We're one of a lot of kids, even while they were married. So infidelity was really hard, and it was a big topic in our home. So it sometimes feels like I brought myself back to what I saw at home, and would be like, oh, maybe I failed the way my parents failed in their relationship, or in the sense of I didn't prioritize myself, I didn't respect myself enough, you know, things like that. Like, how do you feel like you built that confidence back up in order to like feel yourself again?
How I built back up the confidence?
Yes.
So first, it does feel like did at the time feel like an utter failure. So again, anyone listening, I think that is it's like grieving. It's a very normal process, like part of the grieving process. Like you're grieving this like life that you thought that you were going to have. I think it's in steps, and I don't want to come on here and be completely inauthentic and say, oh, I'm 100% confident, I'm 100% there. No, there's a reason why my therapist still gets paid weekly. It's a process, and I think that's important to talk about too, because I think that when you're in a relationship and it's not healthy, that the more distance you have, the more perspective you also get. And so the more that you can say, oh, wow, I can't believe I was putting up with that. That was not normal. I deserve better. I also say my daughter is a really good marker for me, because if I'm ever contemplating, is this good enough? Is this what I want? I think, would this be good enough for her? And I've done that from before she was even here alive or even conceived in my belly. I've always had this imaginary, would this be good enough for my daughter? And that makes things really clear for me, even if I'm not feeling 100% confident. I think having the answer is one thing, and then acting on it is a completely other whole set of circumstances. And I think that probably the biggest step for me was learning to trust myself again. Less about the confidence, because I personally am a pretty confident human. I didn't trust myself, though, to let someone back in, or how did I let this person into my life? How did I make this mistake? Whatever that looked like. I think for me, I had completely shattered my confidence in myself. And that has been a process to rebuild. And I've done that in therapy, and it's taken time. Like I've been single for years. And I think that's been super healthy for me to just focus on work and focus on my daughter and focus on myself. It's a lot when you have a baby by yourself. And those, like, I always say, like the first 4 years is tough. And my daughter's going to be 4 in April. And so I feel like just now I'm finally getting my footing and feel confident in my life again. I feel like I've proven things to myself too. And I've dated a little bit here and there, and I'm really quick to know this is not for me. And so I think that going through those processes also, you prove to yourself, you gain a little bit of trust back in yourself to understand, like, okay, I am growing.
I think the greatest point that you said, it's a grieving process.
Yes.
Like you don't ask someone to, okay, the person died a year ago, you need to move on.
Yeah.
You don't say that.
Yeah.
Because why would you treat yourself like that?
Exactly.
Like, you're grieving either the loss of who you thought this person was, or who you thought you were, or how ready you thought you were to date and stuff. Whatever it is, like you said too, the trust within yourself, whatever you're grieving, you wouldn't tell someone grieving, okay, it's over, you need to move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that There's also this like pressure with women specifically where it's find a partner, do you want more kid, like all of those things. And I honestly just shut it out. I'm like, I rebuke. I'm not going to put the pressure on myself. And I trust in God. I'm like,
Right.
there is a bigger plan for me and my life. And you can make it through. And an understanding, I think, that the more care, like the more that you deal with a breakup, no matter what that situation looks like, with care with yourself, I think the better off you're going to be long term. Like it's really important, I think, to take a second and like breathe and breathe life back into yourself before, so that you can make better decisions moving forward. Because I think that's where I got tripped up before, like just my 20s in relationships, like my early 20s in relationships. I found myself making the same mistake over and over again. And that's because I wasn't taking a beat. I was young and I thought I knew better and I didn't.
Yeah. Sometimes even just do an inventory of the last relationship.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do this part again.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah.
Well, I asked, not just, I have friends and family that have gone through this and they're just like, well, you don't get it because you just don't let people in. And I'm open, more open than you. And I don't believe that it's that. I feel like because you said grieving, I think that clicked for me. It was, I just grieved differently, or I grieved differently.
Yeah.
You know, my husband, who I decided to marry, was because he proved those things, like you said, through a long time. I've known him too since elementary school, and we did not get together till I was in my 20s, but we didn't get married till 7 years later. And so it was this thing that I think that when I talk to friends or family that are dealing with this, they look at me like, you don't understand. You didn't let people in, so you don't know what like a loss is. And I went through my 20s dating the wrong guy, and it was a loss. And sometimes I wish it wasn't seen as, oh, you got it together, because it wasn't like that. It was really hard for me. My grieving process is anger mostly. So I would grab onto that anger and move on, you know, but it wasn't healthy. It's one of those fuels that can't fuel you forever. You can't be angry with men forever.
Yeah, it's true.
And it doesn't help. And so I think it's great that you said grieving, because then it makes you look at it in the scope of everyone grieves differently. It takes everyone a different amount of time. I think I was still grieving some of my childhood losses in relationships, you know? And it's just one of those things that I think that just that wording for it gives you more perspective on for other people. And I love too that you use your daughter as like a marker for you. That's like the best thing someone can do. And for those who don't want kids, you know, it doesn't matter. If you imagine at least your little self, right?
Yeah.
Would you want that if you were looking at that? Or what would you want for yourself if you would have got whatever you wanted for that little version of you?
100%, because children are vulnerable and they need to be protected. And so you think about it through a different lens. Would this be good enough for a child? Would they be safe?
Well, that also tells you a lot about ourselves, right? Like we would protect a child, but where's our relationship with ourselves?
Exactly. And I think that as we grow, we think that we're like more resilient and all of those things. But we are all of the parts of ourselves. Like I still am 5-year-old me. I'm just 29 now. And so it's just, you are all of those versions of yourself with all that knowledge you still need to protect who you once were so that you can show up in the best way. And I think that's what's a major point that I want to get across. Also, it's like you need to protect yourself so you can show up as your best self so that you can live the life that you're meant to live. Because I think that for me, when I think about choosing a partner, it's so important to me that I choose somebody who I'm comfortable with so that I can thrive and be the best version of myself. I've seen myself in that stressed flight or fight mode, and I don't operate well. I'm not the best version of myself. I'm not nice to be around. I'm not going to pretend that I'm like this saint. I can be mean, okay? Like if I'm being treated horribly, I am not nice. And so it's just, I want to be who I authentically am at my core. And that means choosing the best partner for me also, so that I can show up like that. And if that doesn't come for however long, that's fine, because I get to be the best me right now and nobody's stressing me out.
Mm-hmm. I love to, all I could hear and see, because I haven't gotten this one out of my head, was like, my husband?
Oh,
My husband would never.
no. And people commented and they're like, well, my husband did. And I'm like, you get the point. You understand what I mean.
Yeah, your
You
husband then, but that's not who you
leave is what I
Yeah.
say. Like, it's never, I don't think, and I think that sometimes like the divorce rate is high. All right. But I think that's because people are choosing at the wrong point.
Yes.
If I had married my ex, I would be part of that statistic. There was no way that would have stayed. I also met him though when I was 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there's so much benefit in waiting. I want to hammer into my daughter. I'm like, girl, don't take anybody serious before 25. No major life decisions before 25. Don't do it. Your mind changes as a woman, and you like can literally picture the future in a different type of way. And I personally got calmer about, when you want to rush things, I
Mm-hmm.
want it now. I want the baby now. I want the husband now. I want the house now. And now that I have my baby in my house and I'm just waiting on my husband, I'm like, oh, girl, he gonna come. Like, he gonna come. It's okay.
He can find his way. We'll be here waiting.
He's gonna find his way. And in the meantime, I'm gonna do my red light therapy at night, read my books, and watch my show. Like, it is fine. And so I just have a different perspective of time now. I'm not stressed out about it, because my daughter really did give me that perspective of, I dreamt of her my entire life. And then I was so stressed. Am I going to have a daughter? Is this going to happen for me? Am I going to be able to be a mother? Am I going to get that? Like, I had so much anxiety, and then she was here and I was like, oh, why was I stressing? You were always going to come. And so I really carry that with me. I don't stress about more kids. I think about it. I don't stress about more kids. I don't stress about a husband. I don't stress about a relationship. I don't stress about my work. I know what's for me is coming. And that's one of the greatest gifts that she's given me, that I'm like emotional, but like, I'll forever be grateful to her for. She is such a living, loud, loving reminder that what's for you is not going to miss you.
I love that, because I think that's the first thing that was coming to my head was like, what's yours is no one's going to take it from you.
Yes.
And so I think that usually is what I play in my head when I start feeling, like you said, that rush. I've gotten into that with the second kid. Do we want a second kid? Can we handle a second kid?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like pressuring myself. I'm like, I'm just getting back to myself. So it's, do I really want to go down that road again?
Yeah.
And then I'm like playing devil's advocate. Well, I'm in a better space, or I've worked through a lot of things that probably added to the postpartum and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, yeah, I do. And sometimes I just got to be like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be.
100%. And I think like I dealt with like really bad postpartum depression too. And I think that when you go through that, there's so much fear around another child. And I have talked about it with my mom and all the things. And she's always like, it's so different. Like, they'll have a partner next time. It'll be so different. But like, when you go through it, you're like, don't say that. It's not going to be like, I have to be prepared for that to happen again. Like, mentally as a woman, you're like, I have to be prepared because you have another child to take care of. But I just think that it's so important to just, like, yes, biologically we have a clock and all of those things, but I see healthy babies be delivered by women in their 40s and like all of the time. There is no fear to be had. So I'm like, really just, and that's why I ground myself in my faith also. To just understand, if I have another kid in a decade, I guess that was a plan.
I've left it like that. It's up to God.
Yeah.
You want me to have another kid? Let me know.
100%. 100%.
Because there's just, I can't, there's a reason why religion in general, or just in, whatever belief you have, is helpful. We can't carry the weight of all the decisions in the world. There's a lot of things that just work out the way they need to. So
100%.
And so I think that making sure you're grounded in some way, because, you can do it manifestation, or you can say power of the tongue, whichever one you want to choose, whatever you like speak onto yourself and unto others, it will be. So
100%.
so
100%.
it's one of those things that, like, I get what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Now you would have said that to me 2 years ago, I would have been like, what do you mean?
I know. Life is a teacher.
And same, so like my daughter was the breaking point of, I need to work through my shit.
Yeah.
Really what it was. It was like, I can't do this. I'm breaking down left and right. I don't know how to manage everything around me. My emotions were high. And what you said is key. I think that we've been told, in 6 weeks, you'll be yourself.
Yeah.
That is not true. I think they've proven that it takes up to 2 years for your hormones to fully balance again.
Yeah.
2 years.
And if you're breastfeeding, add another year.
Yes.
From the day that you stop breastfeeding. I'm like, it's a wrap. It's a lot.
Yeah. So I think misconceptions are also mixed into things like, you should be yourself by this point. That's not how it works. And everyone works differently too.
I also just think that it's like you're living a totally different life. Not to sound morbid, but my past self is dead. She's gone. I don't know her. And I had to refigure out who the heck I am as a mom, but then also as me again. And you have to figure out what that looks like. And that's one thing that I really didn't understand before. You're getting to know yourself in this whole new permanent role. You're never not a mom. Once you're a mom, you're never not a mom.
And you're not eased into it. This is not something that like, let's see how it goes 2 days a week and then 3 days a week, 4 days a week. No, leave the hospital. You're a mom. Goodbye.
Yeah. And more like pee on the stick and then you throw up for 9 months and then you're like, then you're thrown into, you have a baby to take care of. I'll never forget like leaving the hospital being like, you guys sure? Take her home. I get I made her, but this is crazy.
They're just going to let me take her home?
Yeah. I'm like, you don't want to check that I've read a book? Nothing? Okay. All right.
I'll just take her home.
Yeah. I'm like, I need my mom right now. Like, how did you do this?
And then when you try to get help on like, how did you do this? It's a totally different time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that might not apply.
Yeah.
And so you're still kind of walking around a little blind of, ooh, we'll see if this one works or that works.
And there's so many new gadgets. Like, even thinking about like when I had my daughter versus like my friends who are pregnant now, there's so many new things, so many new apps. Like technology is changing so quickly that I'm like, I don't know, 4 years ago, which is crazy how quick it changes.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so last part with me is I saw a picture that you posted where you were almost like it was a pajama party with friends.
Okay. Oh, yes.
And I love that because I feel like you need a support system. Like I don't feel like, I know you need a support system to work through things, relationships, find yourself. And when we talk relationships, I know that we did romantic relationships, but like this could apply to family relationships and or friends that you just need to know it's time to go. I know we focus on that, but it's applicable to all kinds of relationships, because I think sometimes we think it's easier to leave people. No, it is easier to leave people when they're outside of you. Sometimes, like they're not your immediate family and things like that. But when they're your family, like you said, you cherish child, or if, live with them, or if you have, family members that sometimes people think you're tied by blood.
Yeah.
Or you have friends that you've had forever and you think you just need to keep them in your life. That you need to, I just want like the listeners to know this doesn't apply just to relationships. You have to prioritize yourself in all relationships. And that applies to family and stuff. So the last one was that I saw that post about you, and I love it because I think the support system in place helps people know how to prioritize themselves. And so I guess, how do you think that you've built this friend group, or is it something that like fell into place? Or how would you tell listeners, hey, this is what I would recommend if you don't have a support system and you want to build one?
I think that I'm like, it was God. We've all talked about it because
Yeah.
I've been friends with them for a little over a year now. And it's funny, I personally was going through a season of solitude, is what I call it, where I actually lost a lot of friends. I was going through like a season of just where I felt very isolated. I felt very alone. And I remember sitting in a therapy session talking to my therapist being like, I am so lonely friendship wise right now. And that has not happened to me ever in my life. And she was like, it's gonna come, but you're in a season of in between right now where you're growing from like past things where like toxic, unhealthy patterns, and you haven't yet reached the next level. Once you've reached the next level of like healing, that's when it will come. And so I think I had to be a little bit patient. And my one girlfriend had reached out to me through TikTok. And I think, yeah, having an open heart. I was pretty nervous about meeting her because I was like, is she gonna be weird? I think that like you automatically are like, I just don't know. Like when you're meeting somebody in person,
Yes.
and I don't do that. I don't just like, I would never at this point in my life. I'm like, no, like I'll hang out online, you know, but
it's because it gets harder as you get older. It's just, how are we gonna get
100%.
along? Do they have this thing that I might not like? And then I'm just like out.
Yeah. And so I had met up with her. We went out in Dallas and she was wonderful. I was like, oh, best decision ever to go. And then she brought me into this like group of friends that was like very new at the time. And we all just fell in love with each other. Like they are the best girls that I could surround myself with. Yeah. I feel truly blessed to have them. And it's been a short amount of time, like literally I said, just over a year, but it feels like we've known each other for forever. And that's why I think that it was really like divinely timed and it was God. And we all have a Christian background and are really rooted in our faith. And a lot of them had prayed about that. It was on all of our minds. And so I think that having an open heart is really important, to be open to those opportunities. If somebody's reaching out to you and saying, hey, I think we could really be friends. I think women really crave community, especially as moms, new moms. And it's really rare to find women who you like. I'm like, we love, like, I'm single, but all their husbands are so great. They have such great families and all those things. So to find people who you can really be like, oh, I'm good with my kids being around your kids. This is so nice. This is so beautiful. To raise them in community is just something so special. So I just say to like people listening, keep an open heart with that and your people will come. And until then, pour into yourself.
I think that's a very good point. I think a lot of people don't talk about that middle section.
Yeah.
Where you're working on becoming someone.
Yeah.
But you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And it is a very lonely period. It is a period where you're working on yourself, you feel alone, you don't know what you need to do or what, who you need to be where you need to be. And sometimes you start outgrowing your friends because you've grown, right?
Yes.
Your old friends or your family or whatever it is, and you start outgrowing that part, but you haven't got to the place where you find your new community. So I think that's very true. But I love that because I think I sometimes have a hard time being open. I think I'm still in that little piece.
Yeah.
I've been very reserved. Social wise, I'm like not a very social person.
Me either. I'm such an introvert. So crazy.
And so it makes it hard, to make friends if you don't leave your space.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why we all found each other online. 2 of them live across the street from each other. But so there's that.
That's really awesome though. I'm really happy that you did find that. I have a few friends now that same thing. They just happened to, like you said, they were definitely God ordained because it was just this thing that it just smoothly happened. Yeah. They felt the same way. They prayed about it. When you said that, it clicked for me. I was like, you prayed about friendships? I was like, I need to pray about friendships then.
No, honestly. And I think that any area you're looking for answers for, it's pray about it. Pray for the answers. Pray for those things. Yeah. And I also want to say too, I don't believe that you have to be like perfect or totally like in this space in order to have good things come to you. That's not what I believe. I just think that for myself personally, I do a lot of reflection and a lot of growth in solitude. And so that was just my personal journey. And so to not feel so like dreary about that, if that's the space that you're personally in. But I think a lot of people online kind of come at me when they're like, you don't have to be perfect in order to have, and I'm like, I don't believe that. I don't think that you have to be this perfect version of yourself in order to have a great partner or all these things. We're all a work in progress. No one's perfect. That line of thinking doesn't even make sense. But I just want to just make it so clear that if you're in that season, just know it's coming.
Yeah. And I think to add to that point, I do, because I am in that season. I can tell you there's just something about the solitude that like helps with the growth. And if you do, feel like you're ready, everyone's different, right? I feel like I needed to get myself together before I could let anyone. I couldn't juggle it all. I couldn't hold it all. That's the reason why I felt like that. And so I understand that we're not perfect or anything, and what you mean exactly, because I did need that. I do still need that. I think that I can't juggle a friendship because friendships need pouring into, and I didn't have anywhere to pour it from.
Yeah. And it's such an important thing to talk about also, because like I did drop the ball. Well, I say drop the ball. I was in survival mode when I had my daughter for a very long time. So I wasn't showing up as like the best version of myself in any relationship. But yeah, especially when you're a new mom, it's just like pause on everything except this human that I'm now taking care of. And I need to figure out what this is. And I think that, like that is a really important point to take in, because it's a lot. It's a huge adjustment period. And it's not the 6 weeks. It's years, in my opinion.
Yes. I vouch for that. It's definitely been years.
Yeah.
And then the last thing would be, I want to set a growth challenge for like listeners. So as we wrap up, what's one actionable challenge you would like to give our listeners to help them prioritize themselves or recognize when it's time to go?
Ooh, that's such a good one, to recognize when it's time to go. Okay, so like a development challenge, I'm like every single day for the next 30 days, read 10 pages of a self-development book. I got that from 75 Hard. I've carried it on into my everyday. And it is such a small but easy way to become the best version of yourself. It's manageable, like all the things. I could not recommend that more. And to know when to walk away, I think if you're asking that question, that's your answer. Because I would never question walking away from my mom. I would never question walking away from my daughter. I would never question walking away from the people who I know, even if hard things are happening in life. We're working through that. Those are my people. And so if you're asking yourself that question, you already know it's time to go. And go doesn't necessarily mean forever. And I think that's a big thing too for women. You can walk away from a situation today that is not serving you today. And if you grow individually and get professional help, and maybe you can come back. Like, not everyone's abusive. Not everyone is, like that's not everyone's situation. Maybe it's just not that right time. But I think that was a huge thing for me, where I was like, this right here is not for me. And that was the decision that I made at that time that allowed me to take a step away, that then created that emotional distance so that I could see things clearly. But I wasn't, in my opinion, at that point, I was not saying, oh, forever, we're done. I was just like, today, this is not it. Next month, this is not it. This year, this is not it. And so if we can step away from that and then come back together, okay, that's not the case. It has not been the case. It is forever done. Like, I'm just making that so clear. This is like years of a process. But I'm just saying, like, at the beginning, when that had originally happened, the mindset around that. And so I think that is sometimes a little bit more manageable for women that have invested years or have kids or are married, to think about it in that way, to make it more manageable for you to do what's right for you.
Correct. And I think that's a great way to lay it out. Well, thank you so much. And I love talking to you. This was so easy. And, like I said, It is my first podcast interview, and
Yeah.
you have been a joy to interview.
Oh, I'm so
So
glad. Thank you for having me.
thanks for hanging out with me on the Hidden Pages. If today's episode hit home for you, don't forget to subscribe or leave a review and share it with your friends who might need it too. Until next time, I'll see you in the next episode.